Take everyone, the lifeline to your unfiltered media experience. I'm your host, Gion Thomas. I got my co-host, Archie, and we got special guest and community organizer, Nicholas Lesem. And we're going to be talking about the resurgence of Donald Trump in 2024 and how it's a real possibility. So, Nick, give us your take on this, man.
Well, guys, I just want to say thank you for having me on. You know, it's a pleasure, and I deeply appreciate it. You know, me and Gion, we've been talking over the past week, and you know, I think it was a couple of days ago, I texted him and I said, you know, the way things are looking right now, we could have, you know, a Trump resurgence. And why do I say that? I say that because I look around, you know, anecdotally, you know, from my experience, I look around, I see a Democratic Party or a Democratic electorate that's not engaged, and I see the Republican electorate becoming more and more engaged. And so what I was telling Gion, and I think we both agree on this, is that that if the Democratic electorate, people who voted for Joe Biden, could just take a step back and realize, well, what if we had thought that Trump had stolen the election and we had retreated into, you know, our bubble? You know, that mindset is where I think the Republican electorate's at. And we could roll into a 2024 election situation where the Democratic establishment or the Democratic electorate is just not there like it was in 2020, and we could have and then you see these voting laws that are coming into place in places like Georgia, and even in our own home state of Texas, where the Democratic Party, the state legislative branch, literally walked out the Democratic group that comprises the state house. And so so you have a Democratic electorate that's not engaged. You have these new voting laws coming into place. 2024 is in jeopardy. And so I want, you know, from where I'm sitting, I'm doing everything I can to mobilize the base, because we got to do it now. We can't do it, you know, come election time. It needs to happen now. So that's just kind of where I'm at, you know, with it.
Oh, Nick. So this is something that I have talked about multiple times on the show, even right after right after Joe Biden had won. I even said that if Joe Biden doesn't come through with a lot of these policy proposals, that Trump can come back, or someone a more competent Trump, you know. I'm just saying, like, that threat is not gone. And like you said, I do see the Democratic base being, they are consistent. They are not doing anything. They are not consistent. They're being complacent. You know, Joe Biden knocked down the $15 minimum wage for the COVID bill, the Medicare for all. They didn't even vote on it. I'm just saying, these things that he even ran on. He ran on adding a public option. When are you going to add the public option? You've been in office for months now. You know, when are you going to start helping out the people? Yes, like we discussed, the tax credit. The tax credit is great, but what are you going to do for the broad span of people? You know.
Right. Well, so I kind of want to push back on that a little bit here, Gion. I mean, I'm not, you know, I voted for Biden, you know, in the general, but you know, certainly didn't vote for him in the primary. But I just want to say, you know, he passes this child tax credit. It's gonna provide each family with, per child, $3,000 in just cash. Do what you want with it, you know.
Yeah.
That right there, my friend, could lift, you know, and it's universal. You know, the policy is everybody who needs it gets it. I think it may be every child in the United States. And I'm just saying that kind of legislation could, you know, end childhood poverty, a huge issue. You know, like when we're just talking about, you know, when you have your child between pre-K and kindergarten, you know, that's a very expensive thing to do, to put your child in a private, you know, preschool or something. You know, it's going to help families with that. So, I mean, but it is a mix. It's totally a mixed bag. He's maintained the same immigration policies of Trump. I really wish he had done something more about that, or could have done something more. As far as the Obamacare thing, or expanding into the public option, well, inside Obamacare, funny enough, inside that legislation is a clause that says if a pandemic breaks out, that he can extend a public option or open Medicare up, and that could just be done from the president sitting in his Oval Office. I don't believe it would take the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate to do it. So I mean, I'm outraged. Because it continues to be a missed opportunity. And I think, as you pointed out, like, we're almost past his first 100 days in office. So when's it going to happen? If he's going to do this stuff, right? So.
And I just think by not acting, that you give the Republicans more fuel, you give them more fire, you give the people who are on the left, who are very critical of them, that gives them more ammo not to want to vote for, people in the Democratic establishment. It's just by this inaction, it just leads to more issues. And to me, it's like no brainer. Like, we're in such a crisis right now. Why is it taking so long? That's just, I don't know. That's just my
I think we've talked about it before. I mean, and this is something me and Gion, we both agree on, is that the corruption is just so deep, right? It's so systemic, and it's and it doesn't take an expert to see it, right? When you understand how much these politicians receive in donations, and these donations are given with with a wink and a nod that says that, hey, when something comes up that I need you to pass, you're going to pass that, right? And so I think it's we have to reform. We also have to reform the way we do the way that we elect our politicians, but then which is why it's so important. We got so many that we have Gion Thomas on our side, right? It's because he's organizing things like POP, to get more people involved. So important to us moving forward, and getting these things that we want. Because that's the real question, right? That you're proposing. It's like, how, we got Joe Biden here, and he kind of spits on the left and sometimes does these, not really lefty things, but kind of centrist, proposals and stuff, right? And it's like, well, if not this way, then how do we get the things we want, right?
Exactly.
It's like $1 million, like the $1 million question.
You said something, getting people involved is very important. But also getting the right people involved is very important, because you need people who will, for one, take the stand, people who have direction, and because just getting the average Joe involved, that's just another body. But that doesn't mean they're going to be active. You know what I'm saying? So
right,
you have to get the right people involved and engaged in this whole in this political world, so that you can come up with some things and get some changes done. Biden. Biden. He's been in office before, and we all know how that went. Now he's sitting in the king chair, and
can't go any higher than where he's at right now.
Yeah, right. So I mean, like, dude, you're in the seat now, so do something.
Yeah, that's right.
You can't do a little bit and expect that to last forever.
Right.
With the stimulus and all that, that's a little bit, but
it's temporary.
It's very temporary. And so people are looking for something more long-term than just that.
Yeah.
And that's one thing. You can't give a little bit just to get recognition or whatever, but it's all about giving people what we actually need. And that's what he needs to take into consideration.
I just wanted to build on what you're saying right there. People are so desperate to like, we used to have really tight-knit communities, or people would be connected through unions and different grassroots organizations right now. But people are just totally untethered from all that stuff, right?
Yes.
And you read these Reddit pages, right? And you see such want of solidarity, and so much, like, there's like this, whole thing about holding on to AMC to help the little guy and hurt the big guy, right? And they have these silly things that they say, like, apes don't hurt other apes. Obviously not apes, but it's just, It's just like, you know, and you just think
apes together strong.
they want it, right? They want to be tethered to something. People want to be tethered to either, you know, like something that gives them deeper meaning and
identity. It gives people identity. People like to be identified with certain groups and certain
Yeah.
movements. You know, that's part of human nature. That's been done, you know, throughout eons of us being on this planet. You know, people look to the masses. They want to feel connected. And Archie, you brought up a great point. You said that we need, like, we can't just bring you can't just elect anybody, because we've been doing that. We've been electing the same old people and we've been getting the same old results. Exactly. And then people want to understand, well, why is this the younger generation so different? Well, we've seen your mistakes. We've seen that you've tried to do the same thing over and over again and you've gotten no results. Like just years of no results. I mean, we've had incremental, but you know, you see that incrementalism leads to, like y'all said, like the stimulus check was just it was
just temporary.
Just temporary. It was just temporary. And so, you know, that it was a band-aid on a massive wound. And so it's just, I don't know.
No, that's right. I think MLK said it best, right? When he said that gradualism or incrementalism is the great tranquilizer of the masses, right? He in one of his speeches, and I just you all but said it right there. You brought that straight up. You brought that straight into my mind when you were talking about that. But it is right, because I know me and Gion's biggest fear is watching us get put to sleep and then getting rolled into something like a Donald Trump. I mean, my God, like I can't do it again, man. You know, and where we left it, I mean, where like the last days of his, where he left that whole thing, you know, like invading the Capitol and, you know, promoting an insurgency, you know, that could have wound up with, you know, and I don't know like what level of success, but this was a possibility on that day of having people in power be executed. I mean, like it would be devastating. It would destroy our democracy, you know, and that's where he left it. So it's almost like there's this like feeling of like, okay, well, if he does come to power, you know, and he didn't get it right that time, but like he's gonna get it around two, you know, like that's, I hate to make people imagine what that would be like, but I think it would be quite awful. You know, I think me and Gion we're talking about a situation which we could be rolling into in 2024, which is that where we have a Democratic electorate that's totally asleep and a Republican electorate that's totally awake and willing to do whatever it takes, right, to get their guy back into power. And so I just think that between 2020 and 2024, we got to be targeting independence, but you know, I would hope that the left becomes more, and I think me and Gion were talking about this a little bit earlier, but the ultimate thing I think we all want to see is a left that is more inclusive as opposed to exclusive. Ryan Grimm's got a really good book. It's called We Got People, one of my favorite books. It's one of the reasons why I'm such a huge fan of Jesse Jackson, but you know, in his 88 campaign, I believe it was in 88, you know, he started bringing in working class, like white farmers into his coalition. Huge deal, right? Because suddenly he's relevant, because, you know, they would say Jesse Jackson's appeal was only to minorities. Well, no, it turns out that a working class agenda is also appealing to working class whites as well. And what I see going on with the left right now is that, you know, there's a lot of people who I feel like have, and not me in particular, but other people I've known who have been Republican or conservative at the start, but have been able to go through this transition where, you know, they become either more liberal or somewhere in the middle. And if the left becomes exclusive, and we say suddenly Republicans are just too bad, they're just too bad of a group of people, or people who are conservative are too bad to let them come in and sit at the table, well, then you're going to have an LBJ situation. And LBJ had this old saying, I'd rather have them in the tent pissing outward than looking inward and pissing inside the tent. we need to have them at the table. How you get them at the table, $1 million question. I don't know. But the one thing that I think that cannot happen right now uh, is to be an exclusive group.
Yeah.
Um,
I think one of the ways how you make it happen, Nick, is by things that you ally on. You attack those issues. So we're not going to agree with. I mean, not even. I mean, the Republican Party is such a crazy place right now. But like people like Rand Paul, there's certain issues that we can work with Rand Paul with. But other issues we're not going to work with them on. So I think give and take, and where you can work with a Republican, work with them. But I feel like on policy, as Democrats, we can't give no ground, and we also have to give things with policy substance. I think if Democrats start to give like more substance on the policy and actually outline what they're going to do for the people and how it's going to change their lives, I think that's going to inspire people. Like the Democratic Party has to inspire people to the polls. You can't just go to the polls because the lesser of two evils. I mean that didn't work in 2016. You have to give people and it kind of worked in 2020, but there was a pandemic. That's a totally different outlier. You had people dying, and that message of when Joe Biden would say, look at that empty spot in the table, that hit home. That hit home for a lot of Americans.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do for the primaries? We got the primaries coming up, and it's looking bad. The Democratic Party will get caught flat-footed. And that won't be pretty, and it'll just set up the Republicans for 2024. So we have to work hard in the primaries, and we have to. And one of the things that I was talking about, and that Archie had said, was we have to find the right candidates. We have to find the candidates that are going to speak for the working class people, that's going to fight for the working class people. Before we came on the show, Nick, you was talking about some candidate in Pennsylvania who's going to fight.
Yeah,
that's what we need. That's exactly what we need.
Well,
we
Gion,
don't need people who's going to turn over.
Oh no, it's so funny you talk about that, because what you're talking about is deeply rooted in American history, right? Like this notion of solidarity in the working class and voting for candidates to push that agenda. I mean, that was what the Democratic Party used to be. Yeah. And I just think that there's this whole language of working class politics in this country that has totally been forgotten. And we have to, it's by no means the solution. But here's one question. When we had labor unions, was there like a push for civil rights, or did unions help in the effort for civil rights? Absolutely. Why? Because you had workers collectively organized, and they represented like a power base. That is to say that if at work they were presented, with, oh, you got to take this pay cut, or, we're going to have to lay off 25%. You could say, we're not going to do that. We're going to go home. We're not going to touch any of these machines, and we're going to go sit at the table and talk, and we're going to work this out and make compromise. I just think that there's such a power imbalance in this country between working class people and then, the ownership class. And one of the ways that I think you could bridge that divide that you have between conservatives and liberals and stuff is to simply say this, is that, look, man, we're all in the same trench, right? Look at us. What are we going to do? We're going to fight each other, and we're going to go fight the outward problems. That can kind of bridge that divide, because that conservatives understand solidarity and liberals do too. And it's just about somehow getting them to work together, or finding like what Gion was so brilliantly just said, like figuring out ways that we can work together if there are issues. But one of the things that has to change in this country is we got to get rid of the fear of talking about politics, that it's somehow impolite, at dinner to talk about politics. Well, I don't know where the heck that came from, but that is so that is so rooted in like at least Southern culture. I mean, at least Southern, where family I come from, politics, aren't to be discussed, as if politics is just set in stone and it's not like fluid. and and it's not always changing because it is,
I
right?
Yeah.
think that, yeah, I think people have to realize that politics is for the people. And so, like you're saying, it's not something that you should omit talking about because it has to do with you. Um, it has everything to do with you. And then you also said that, as people, if one of the main problems with us not being able to come together, this side not coming together with that side is that people spend so much time fighting against each other. Um, the United States is one of the most divided countries there is because I don't even agree to even call it the United States because we fight against each other within our own country, and that's stupid to me. How can you ever come together and be one if you're against each other? And so this country needs to actually become unitized, and the way we do that is first getting the right people in office, from the small people to the big people. That
Hmm.
means from the lowest, the judges, all of that, all the way up to the president, getting the right people in office. And in order to do that, um, for one, like I said before, the communities have to be engaged. We have to be, like you were saying, we have to talk politics. It's a need for, especially in this day and time, everyone needs to know what's going on in the political world. Because if you don't know what's going on in the political world, anything flies. You
Yeah.
can't say anything because at that point, you actually don't have a voice.
There's like a funny saying in unions. They say if you're not at the table, you're on the table. You know,
Yeah.
Under it.
that's what that's one of the things, like, by not, as a, like, culturally, uh with the being comfortable talking about politics, right? I mean, like, to some, I have, family and friends I'm very close to, and it's like when the political conversation comes, they're like, stop, like, this has to, you're gonna ruin our relationship. No, we can talk about these things, and it can be done, with friendly disagreements. In fact, I feel closer to people when I know what their no's are, and what they don't want to see, right? As opposed to
Exactly.
Yeah.
what we all agree on.
And I'm glad we're talking about this because this is actually something that I brought up this past Saturday with our live stream debate about defund the police. Like, we have to have these conversations so we can therefore progress. So we need to have the intellectual battle of ideas. People need to say, hey, I don't like that, or hey, A, B, or C. You have to. So you got to poll it. You got to see what other people are saying, how it affects. I just feel like we just, like, the conversation of politics has just been like, it's like, oh well, that's for something for the rich people to handle. And so you have people making decisions for you that's not even looking out for your best interests. They're looking out for their bottom line, for their profits. And then people want to know, well, why is the system so corrupt? But you don't vote. You don't go to, you don't organize. You don't need. It's just, there's so much more people could be doing, but people just rather fuss and complain about how bad the system is instead of actually getting involved. And it's not that hard. And I know there's this perception of, well, it's hard. I don't know what to do, or I may have a felony, or this, that, or the other. But the thing is, like, the government is made for you. Like, it's supposed to work for you, not against you. And that's what we have a system now, working against you. It doesn't matter if you got a felony, if you don't have no education. That's not the founding fathers. They put in little things so it can be more inclusive.
Mhm.
Not initially as inclusive, because certain people couldn't vote, but we got there.
It
And
was,
so
like, a historian would argue on that. They would say it was aspirationally, like, it wanted to be this thing, but it just wasn't this thing, right?
yeah,
I mean, like, when you look at, like, the Declaration of Independence was like a super progressive document. Constitution's kind of more of a centrist document, but initially when they were making the argument, they said we the people, not
yeah,
we the subjects, or we the, when they say we the people, they talk about everybody,
yeah.
uh, it's just yeah. There's a huge. I could go into that, being a history major, about the debate where the Constitution, where it all lies. Is it a? But I would say it is aspirationally one of those all-inclusive
Yeah.
documents. But then you had things like, only men could vote, only men with land could vote, or the fact that we had a portion of the population that was enslaved. There's those things too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Gion. I apologize. I totally interrupted.
No, man. No, that was a good point. But yeah, I just this thing of Trump re-emerging, it's a real threat. And then you just have people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's energizing she's energizing her base.
She is. And she's so good. She's so good, right? And like making it look like she's being attacked all the time, and that she's bringing real issues to the floor. I mean, you listen. There was a convention, I think a Republican convention, just recently. Her and Matt Gaetz were sitting down for a Q&A, and you would think, like, by the way Matt Gaetz was talking about it, that they were pushing real legislation, real agendas.
As Matt Gaetz run away from a sex lawsuit, a child sex lawsuit. Wasn't he trafficking? Like, wasn't he? Isn't he accused, allegedly accused of? And that's who the Republicans have at the end of it.
Yes. No, that's right. That's right. It's unbelievable. I mean, it really is. There is. I mean, and this is my opinion. This is not rooted in anything else but my opinion. But there's some sort of group that is just totally given up on, can the system be fixed? There's whole groups of people, maybe the reason why so many people don't vote is because the only thing they know about their government is DMV, getting speeding tickets, things like that, jury duty, and to them, like they're never impacted in the way that, we were, like this whole stimulus payments during the coronavirus. Like Americans know anything about getting money back from their government, or having them give no taxes charged. Here's just cash so you can have, so you can make your ends meet. They don't know about that. They view the government as a purely extractive, kind of like totalitarian thing, and it's not, right? Because like you're saying, the faucet's just been turned off, the faucet of, government programs like SNAP and, or CHIP, child health care insurance protection, things like that. Where are these things? And I just don't know. They just don't seem to be touching people in the way that they used to. Those things connect people to their government. They give people pride in their government. So.
Yeah, no one has too much pride in the government these days. But the government's not giving us much to have pride in the first place.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the issue. I think with that, that's one reason that it's kind of hard to get people engaged in the political process of everything. But we have to realize that that's what it's going to take to, I guess I could say, influence the government to give people what we need to reconnect to them, to the point of having pride or even confidence in our government again. I noticed that the government misuse money. They misuse opportunities to do something positive for people. They and the change is so needed, to the point where it seems like it's so far away. It almost seems like we'll never reach that change.
Yeah, that it's so complicated, and so and they make it seem that way. But then like people also see, like what you're also, I think, alluding to there, is that like people will see like what happened. Jeff Bezos just got like to the tune of $2
billion. He got $10 billion. He got $10 billion. Or no, wait, he hasn't gotten it yet. But Congress is trying to give him $10 billion. Because he lost a contract to Elon Musk.
Is it over 10 years, Gion, that they're going to give him the 10? Are they going to just do it all at once?
I think it's over a couple of years. But the fact that we're giving the richest man in the world, a man who didn't pay any, he hasn't paid taxes in a couple of years, and the fact that we are giving him more money I just that is complete asinine. Why our infrastructure gets a grade of D? Why Flint, Michigan, I'm pretty sure still doesn't have clean drinking water. I mean, but we're going to give billionaires billions. That's complete asinine. That's backwards.
Totally backwards.
Misuse of money.
And I would imagine that they seem to be able to, when it comes to funding things that like American people need, it's like, this is going to take a while. We're going to have to talk to some people. We're going to have some committees on it, and it just seems like, 2008, when the economy crashed, these banks were pleading for bailouts and stuff. It took, it was like, and the money was out the door, right? And one of the
things, just pumping trillions, just here, corporations here. You need more money? Oh yeah, we're still in the pandemic. Okay, you're gonna misuse the money and give it to your CEOs. Okay, oh now you need more money. Okay, like that's all they kept doing. And then at the end of the pandemic, when it came out that Walmart, Amazon, and all these other places were working, they made out like bandits, and it's because they got subsidized, and then they were the only ones that stayed open. And you crushed the small market, you crushed the working class, you crushed small business owners, and now we have a vanishing middle class, and then it's like it's being done every day through policy and through just, and like we said, because all this is corruption. I mean, the senator that wrote the bill to give Jeff Bezos $10 billion, that factory is in her state. Like it's just known corruption. Like the corruption is out there in front of your eyes, and it's just blatant and it's disgusting. And that's one of the things that turns people off.
I want to say that one of the things, man, is that we have to remember that the things that affect the small people doesn't affect those people in the government. So for them to, it's almost like you can't really represent a certain people if you've never been in with those people, or you're not equal with those people, never experienced what those people experience. So the things that don't affect the government, people in the government system, they can even not care. I mean, we don't know, but they don't have an understanding of what the people need. And that's why it's so important for us to be engaged, to make them understand what we need. Because like I said, they can't understand it because they're not there.
Yeah.
And that's part of the problem.
Yeah. And that's why, Archie, when you said like, we need to find the right people. That's exactly true. That's why there's such a need for, community organizers getting involved, running for office, grassroots political strategists, people that are within the DSA and within the People's Party. My message to them would be, don't just shut out the Democratic completely. I understand that you want to. But when I talk to people within the Democratic Party and they're looking for younger blood to come help in, because they're watching the decay from inside. So they want to bring in new talking heads. They don't want the party to die off. They want to bring these people in. And I understand being adversarial towards the Democratic Party, because at the end of the day, that's what we need to be a little adversarial to them, because they crush people like us. I mean, look at AOC. I love AOC, and I still will sometimes defend her when she does the right thing. But when she does the wrong thing, like not forcing the vote and things of that, I will come out and I will I'll be against that. I'll be against that, or whatever policy stance she takes. That I don't see as fit. And her calling Nancy Pelosi Mama Bear and things like that. It's just, that stuff is just like it can be seen to other people as her catering to the Democratic Party. And then
I think it's okay for you to have high expectations of like your representatives. I mean, it's like, damn it, we pay for their, we pay their salaries. Like,
right.
But AOC is, I mean, I don't know where I am with her. She seems to be, I have very high expectations for her, and maybe I can be unfair in times of my rebukes of her. But what I want to see of the squad is for them to vote as a block Stop doing
Yes.
like stuff where you get just chewed up individually. Stand together, right?
Exactly. Power. There's powers in numbers, and that's why we got them. That's why we got the squad in there, because so they could be the disruptive few. But my rebuttal to that is, that's why we need to get more people involved. If you don't like what the squad is doing, get involved, run for office, start your political career. There's only so much you can do by being in forums and just talking about it. You have to actually get it,
right?
huh?
Join
Yeah,
pop.
you gotta pop out. You gotta protest, organize, and participate, and get out there and really and be part of the system. Like I always say, be part of the system that you want to see the change in. Like that is how you're going to fundamentally change it. I mean, you can get up there, and that's sometimes, and I'm gonna do a show on this later on, but that's some of my issue with the whole entire left-wing political YouTube sphere. Like everybody goes out there, they talk about the issues, and some of them have some little things that they're trying to organize, but like Kyle and Jake left the Justice Democrats, bro, I knew it was going to fail. I knew that it was going downhill from there. I was like, well, that was nice while it lasted, but with no real leadership, and that's what's wrong with the Democratic Party, with the left. Like, there's this vacuum that it's looking for someone to step in and lead, but it's like people are too afraid, or like they don't want that mantle, like just like. Game of Thrones, like Kingmaker. I don't know, man. It's just wild.
Yeah, I got a question for you right here. So if some guy from YouTube put five people in Congress, how hard could this thing be? How hard could it be, right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm just saying. Just look at it. I mean, a guy who comes from obscurity, comes from YouTube, just crowdsources money together, puts together a couple committees, finds the right people, like Archie was saying, that run for office. I mean, I'm just saying, guys, it can't be that hard. I mean, we could replicate that, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
On the citizen level, from where we're sitting right here. So, I mean,
they just have to want to. They just have to want to do it.
They gotta want it. That's right, Archie. But I take hope in that the system isn't too far gone, right, to where we can't, change it and then realize a new outcome, a better outcome, better reality, right? I mean,
yes.
One of the things that I take a lot of heart in, one of my favorite. This is funny. One of my favorite parts of the Constitution is the 14th Amendment. Right? Because it says you will not take life, liberty, property without due process. How powerful that is, like these things. And it's like, and it's a vehicle, I think, that can be used to say, well, what if you're depriving people of education? What if you're depriving people of healthcare? Are you not depriving them of life? Are you not depriving them of property? There's these things, in the Constitution that can allow for really great moral and economic arguments to be made. So I just think it's so important, right, to keep the hope alive. Don't be unrealistic. You can have hope, but you also need to be real in your assessments, right, of like what's going on. I still maintain the hope,
Yeah, man.
Got to, man. You have to.
Got to. Exactly. You can't get discouraged, because that's part of the system. They want you to just get disencouraged, and then so once you get disencouraged and you're not being politically active, then you just have the same old system enriching itself, and more people just getting crushed. So yeah, it's a uphill battle, but as we build, and as other people build, and a leader needs to be not elected, but someone just needs to step up into that vacuum and just lead the left, lead the Democratic Party. And I know people will, well, we got Joe Biden, but Joe Biden's not implementing policy. He's doing some things, but he's not doing enough. We need somebody who's going.
It's like they could say we have Joe Biden, but the way I see it, they have Joe Biden.
Yeah, they have Joe Biden. The establishment has Joe Biden. What does the people have? Who's leading the people? And that's what's missing. We're missing a leader of the people.
Yeah,
That's what it is, man.
that's
His throat is
exactly what it
open.
is.
I'll say that. I mean, I know that's right. That's 100. That's 100 right there. Is that yeah? There is this vacuum. It's like who does or for like the longest time before we decided that unions were bad and that anything that was even smelled of like a democratic workplace was to be destroyed and banned as like heresy. But like it used to be that the working class could turn to their union, figure out how to vote. Like that's so powerful, right? Like people, like large groups of workers coming together and discussing how they're going to use their vote. It's too easy, right, for our system to just pick us off as individuals. That's easy. That's like right, but like when you have the solidarity and the structure, it's a much more difficult fight.
Yeah.
You got to do that. That's what's got to happen.
Yeah. And we're getting it together, and we got some things in the works.
Even down here in Texas, right?
Yeah, even down here in Texas, we're trying to get some change and like
resistance. I mean, this is this is like the Resistance HQ to just bad Republican policies, right?
Yeah. We are in the trenches. We are literally like on the fort, like in the like war zone, like and I see so many people trying to like just write off Texas, and it's like
and I welcome it, right? Because it brings people like me and Gion together in solidarity, right? I mean, that's the thing about being in the fight.
Yeah, exactly.
That there are like-minded individuals that you'll find.
Yeah, you find allies, man. Yeah, and that's true. And just from that, right? And just from that Mike Siegel campaign, man, like just so many people, just so many great people that we've met and just organized with, and that we're planning like great things in the future. It's just awesome, man. It's awesome.
For one of your things for Pop, I just want to just say this. Make sure you meet people where they're at.
Exactly.
Don't come up with too much, policy and things like that. Maybe they come in not so, politically inspired and motivated and educated in the same way that, me and you are. Maybe you have people coming in who are, kind of politically inactive, don't know much, but are looking for something to tether themselves to. Just be ready to receive that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Pop is all about like you said, man. It's all about meeting the people, especially the young people, ages 18 to 30, where they're at, and you gotta go to the bars, you gotta go to the park, you gotta go to lively areas because that's where young people are at, and you gotta cater a message to them that they're gonna find responsive.
Just in case anybody on here doesn't know, Gion is a hell of an organizer. I've worked with him on political campaigns. I mean, I've only met one like him too. So Gion's a good friend. He's a good
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that praise, man. That's a lot coming from you, bro. Thank you very much.